Hi, volunteers. I'd like you to download from our website this article from the Reading Rockets program, Reading for Meaning, Tutoring Elementary Students to Enhance Comprehension. I am going to highlight just a few things from this article and then give you one extra tip for each of the comprehension skills that should help you in working with your student. This article mentions 5 things that all good readers do. Good readers have strong listening comprehension skills. Good readers recognize that reading is more than decoding words. Good readers make connections. I'm going to come back to that one. Good readers think about their thinking, and good readers read a lot of books. You, as the tutor, can help your student with all of these things. But some of you know that I think making connections is one of the most important things that readers do, and one of the things that you can most help your student learn to do by helping your student think about every book that he or she reads. Making connections happens really in a few stages. The first connection that students make is between their reading and themselves. The next connection is between their reading and their world. And the third connection, what we want students to do, is to make connections between reading and reading, to make connections between 2 books. And if you help your student read lots of books and think about the books that he or she is reading, you'll be leading to making those connections. Now, there are 6 comprehension strategies mentioned in the article. And I do want to say that each of these comprehension strategies is mentioned specifically in the Virginia Standards of Learning repeatedly. I encourage you to read this article in full. What I'm going to do now is for each of the skills, tell you one tip that might add to your understanding of this article and help you in your tutoring sessions. So first, activating prior knowledge. Activating prior knowledge is the practice of asking a student what he knows about the book before reading. And my tip is to also throw in a little bit of your own prior knowledge. And so if I were reading with a student, I would start with this book saying, oh, the title of this book is Honey, Honey Lion. And look how it's written. Honey, honey, lion. Do you know have you ever heard anything else that gets louder as someone says it? Have you ever heard someone say, no, no, no? What did that mean? Or stop, stop, stop. What did that mean? And then I might say, oh, I heard someone say, stop, 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 once. And it meant that I was just about to run into a stop sign with my car. Next skill in your handout is answering and generating questions. And my tip for this skill is to use Post-it notes. Kids really like Post-it notes. And if you can encourage your child to ask his own questions while reading and to jot them down on a Post-it note and stick them in the book, just knowing that there are Post-its will encourage your student to come up with some questions. So, for example, in this book, you might read along and get to reading about the jackleberry tree. And it would be pretty logical for you or the student to say, I don't know what a jackleberry tree is. I've never heard of that before. Well, let's write it on a Post-it note and stick it in the book, and we'll come back to this later and we'll look up some more information on a jackleberry tree. Then when you come back later, you can look up information on a jackleberry tree in a dictionary or an encyclopedia. I happened to look it up in the dictionary and I didn't find anything, so I went to the internet and found some information on a jackleberry tree. My tip on making and verifying predictions is to remember to come back to those predictions, to confirm them or to revise them and talk about them at the end of the chapter, at the end of the book, at the end of a scene. It's really powerful if you've made a prediction at the beginning of the book to refer to it later, and it helps your student remember the reading. One of the places in this book that all readers would surely make a prediction is where the badger is sniffing for honey and finds the lion paw. And then there's a lift the flap here, and most kids are going to say, oh, there's a lion under the flap. And so you might say, well, if there's a lion under the flap, what do you think will happen? Well, if the student says, I think the lion will chase the badger, or I think the lion will be asleep, whatever the prediction is, after you see what happens, at the end of the book, you want to go back and say, remember we thought this was going to happen, and that really did happen. Or remember we thought this was going to happen, and actually this was what happened in the story. So tie those predictions, tie them back up at the end of the story. My suggestion for using mental imagery and visualization is to try this visualization when you're reading a book that uses some really descriptive language. I thought of one book in particular when I was reading about this visualization in this article. This is a new book that I like very much, Looking for a Moose by Phyllis Root. And in this book, there are great descriptive words. They scramble up the hillside, trip, trot, up a rocky, blocky, lumpy, bumpy, fuzzy, muzzy hillside. This would be a great place to say, close your eyes and try to imagine a rocky, blocky, lumpy, bumpy, fuzzy, hillside. What do you think that hillside would smell like? What do you think it would feel like under your feet? And then possibly say, when you get to the top, what do you think they're going to see? What do you think you can't see here in the illustrations? What do you think's off to the side? My tip for monitoring comprehension is actually to support something that is written in this article. There is a great suggestion in the article, something that the tutor says to the student. The student in this article, Allison, says something to the tutor she doesn't understand, and the tutor, Tina, says, think about what you should do when you come to a point in the story where something doesn't make sense. That is wonderful. That is a wonderful way to encourage the monitoring of comprehension. Help the student think about what are the possibilities. Now, if your student doesn't have any suggestions there, you can give your suggestions. Say, could you look at the pictures? Would that be helpful? Could we reread that sentence? If you know your student has missed a really important word, point back at that word and say, let's reread this word. So you can guide the monitoring, but first start with a statement very much like what Tina the tutor says there. That was an excellent statement on her part. And the last comprehension strategy here is recognizing story structure. Tutor manual, you have many types of story maps, and there's another type of story map here in the article for you. My tip is that you should be consistent with whatever type of story map you use so that your student realizes that all stories have the same elements. In closing, after you read the article, incorporate some of this comprehension work into your tutoring sessions, and I predict that you will see more reading confidence in your student. Thank you.